We all love football shirts, whether you're a little kid buying the new Inter Miami shirt with Messi on the back, or if you're a 45-year-old man with one of the authentic Premier League shirts in the pub that is just a few sizes too small. They're brilliant, but are we still in the dark age of modern football kits? And yes, this video is going to have a nostalgia alert warning, so it is what it is, but obviously compared to the 90s, let's say, because retro shirts are such a big thing nowadays, the 90s are one of the most popular eras of those shirts. If you're looking at the Liverpool shirts, if you're looking at the old AC Milan shirts, the old Bayern Munich shirts, they're all brilliant, aren't they? And so many people wear them just as a fashion choice nowadays. But I think when you are comparing it to the scene of the current football shirt, I think it is a bit dire. Let's look at the price first of all. I think it's probably about 80 quid just for a Premier League men's shirt nowadays. Obviously it's over 100 for the socks and the shorts as well. But I mean, if you're a grown man getting a full kit, your head needs giving a wobble. But with little kids, obviously, if they want their full kit for Man United, for Arsenal, for Liverpool, it's probably going to cost the parents about £60. And I get it, everyone needs to make money, the club needs to make money, the sponsors, the kit supplier, everyone does. However, obviously the price and a lot of people out the market, and that is why fake kit suppliers are becoming so much more of a thing. Nowadays, fake kits they're so realistic. Yes, they're not the exact perfect ones, but they're good enough, and like I say, if you were strapped for cash, it is not a bad option. But it just seems silly because when you are paying this much for a Premier League kit or a Championship kit, I think they're even about 70 quid. The innovation is just so low because obviously nowadays it's the minimalism with the design of a lot of these kits. I think personally that's another word for just laziness. Minimalism does work sometimes, I know the less is more phrase, but with some of these kits, they're just a carbon copy of each other. If they were cool kind of blank kits, you know, like if Leeds United did just a blank white one like back in the day, fair enough. But especially some of these Nike shirts, especially just after COVID, they were just, the Spurs kit looked exactly like, the Liverpool kit looked exactly like the Barcelona kit. And it wasn't creative at all. It was just a cut and paste. And that's ridiculous when these clubs and suppliers are asking fans to shell out 80 quid for a kit that they literally just did one copy of and then sent it out to 100 clubs across the world. And I think that is one of the main things that is just ruining kits nowadays, because if you are going to do a Brentford and you are going to keep the same kit for 2 seasons because they wanted to save their fans money and it was more sustainable, so they do one home kit every 2 seasons, likewise the away kit, and it just rotates, I think is a very good model. And it was very similar to before the 2000s, you know, in the 90s and the 80s. That is what clubs used to do, and I think that is such a great thing that Brentford do, because it allows the little kids who support Brentford, who get Mbuemo on the back of the shirt, permitting he doesn't change his number season by season. They have his kit until they're 10 and then they're 12 and then 14, instead of every single year they have to change for basically nothing, basically tiny details that have manipulated fans to just do a yearly subscription to the kids. But like I said, if there was creativity involved, I think the Liverpool kit is a great example this year. It's not everyone's taste, I actually quite like it, but it's a creative kit, it's not really been seen before. Likewise with the Chelsea kit, I think it's really, really ugly. However, at least they're trying something new. And if I'm a parent buying my kids a kit, I'd feel so much more warranted buying them a kit if they were trying something new, instead of it just looking like a training top that they've whacked a badge and a number on. Even seeing the Nike vertical and the Liverpool away kit, I mean, whose bright idea was that in the marketing team at Nike? I have no idea. But at least they're still trying something, and some people might like that. That's some people's cup of tea. What is ridiculous is when they go in, I think it's the 2020-21 season, when it was literally a red shirt, a tiny bit of white on the collar, and then a bit of teal. That was it. There was nothing involved. It was not a minimalist idea. It was not, well, let's go back to the 70s and 80s. It was literally, oh, well, the Barcelona kit looks exactly the same. Let's colour it in red and let's put a bit of teal on the collar. If you like that, then completely fair enough. But you have to acknowledge just the laziness from these suppliers. And I think they are getting called out for it more and more, because this recent season, I think we've seen more innovation from these clubs. And that is great, because I'm not trying to say every kit needs to be an absolute, like, John Squire Stone Roses kind of album cover, just with loads of paint splashed on it. I'm just saying it needs to change a bit, because I'm going to put on the screen some minimalist but creative kits, and then I'm going to put some copy and paste kits, and you tell me if you can see the difference. Let's go the copy and paste. You got Nottingham Forest and then you got Man United this season. They look identical. I mean the home kits, of course. They're Adidas, they got stripes on the shoulders, they've got a big Adidas badge, and that's basically it. They've got a few stripes up and down the side where the ribs are, and it's just a boring kit, isn't it? It took nothing really. There's no passion put into it. Whereas I think, as much as I don't like to say it, look at the Everton kit this season. I think Castore do really nice kits, but I really like it. It's got a bit of a pattern underneath the blue. It's got a cool striped collar, and it is a bit different than previous Everton kits. Even the Wolves kit, it's so basic, and I think it's a bit dodgy with the new kit supplier Sudo, who are owned by the Wolves owner, so it would make it cheaper for the fans, but I think there's a few murky waters behind it. But the badge is in the middle, and it's just a new thing. But saying that, let's talk about the death of one of the most iconic pieces of clothing, and that is the long sleeve kit. People nowadays bang on about prime Barclays this, prime Barclays that. People who were 13 who weren't even alive when the Barclays Premier League was going on. But if there's one thing to me that does say prime Barclays, it is long sleeve shirts. You grow up in England, you play in long sleeve shirts. One, because the weather's pretty rubbish year round, and two, it's just the thing that you do. You're playing a long sleeve kit, too baggy that your dad says you'll grow into in a few years' time. The wind pulls you back because it's basically like wearing a kite, and that is what you used to see the strikers wear and the wingers wear and all the players wear on the TV. Thierry Henry is the best example. Is there more of an iconic outfit, or kit should I say, as Thierry Henry, maybe in the burgundy 02 Arsenal kit with the long sleeves and the gloves? It sticks in your head 20 years later because obviously you're just a brilliant player, but it was just such a kind of cool outfit. But why don't we see it anymore? Because yeah, we do see it a tiny bit, but I think the reason is, one, skins or Under Armour or whatever you want to call it have become the fashion for the last 10-15 years, aren't they? When I was growing up, I was excited when I could start wearing sleeves instead of long sleeve shirts because it looked cool, because that's what Adebayor was wearing, that's what Carlos Tevez was wearing for Manchester City, and you wanted to copy the best players in the league at the time. And if we're being honest, like, I've played in long sleeve, I've played in Under Armour. It is nicer wearing a skin. I think it's less restrictive, keeps you warmer for one, and I think it just does look cooler, especially when you're like 14 years old. And two, it's more expensive to buy a long sleeve shirt or even produce it, I'm sure. I believe it's minimum about £10 extra to buy a long sleeve football shirt. And that's just one of the things people choose to buy a short sleeve shirt because they're less expensive. And the final one is, people don't buy them as much because you will get mocked relentlessly. If you turn up to your mate five-a-side league with a long sleeve Arsenal top on, you will be getting mocked. And if you don't, there's something wrong with your friendship group. You need to get mocked because it is funny when you see your mate in a long sleeve shirt. Unless you're a goalkeeper, I mean, who really buys a goalkeeper shirt? Then it is ridiculous seeing them in a shirt like that. And therefore, because people get mocked, that they don't buy them. So why would clubs produce them as much if obviously a short sleeve shirt just sells 10 times more than a long sleeve one? But this has taken away somewhat of the humble early Premier League beginnings, you know, where Ian Wright would wear a massive baggy shirt that he looked like he got off one of the older players in the Arsenal team. Nowadays, obviously, the players look so prim and proper. And I think, and luckily, we've moved past this era because it was a very tough era for everyone involved. The skin-tight shirts. Does anyone remember in, like the mid-2010s? Arsenal, Spurs were the two biggest culprits. They had skin-tight shirts. I remember seeing like Santi Cazorla, Mesut Ozil, Sanchez in those weird Puma kits. The only reason I could ever find out was that it helped players not get the shirt pulled as much. Honestly, you used to see players getting the shirt pulled and it would be like an elastic band when they're pulling it back. And I get it, but is that really a big enough thing to produce those shirts that just look ridiculous? Because at the end of the day, what do these clubs want to do? Yeah, they want to make a nice kit for, Sanchez to start for Arsenal in, but in reality, they want to sell millions and millions of these kits worldwide. And unfortunately, the demographic are overweight lads in the pub watching the game on TV. So, and speaking from experience, I don't want to sit there drinking 6 or 7 pints watching the game and feeling like your entire gut's just going to pop out of a really skin-tight shirt. But I do think we're coming out of the dark side of it. I do think we are seeing the light. Look at Newcastle, even though the shirts are somewhat cut and paste, they look very retro, don't they? But in a good way. They're using the old 90s shirt for the away kit, the purple one. And I think that is the way forward at the moment, whilst these suppliers get more creative designers, that they can get these retro shirts and fans love them. And why not? Because they are really cool. Arsenal are probably still leading the charge as the best kit designers in the Premier League at the moment. There's a few behind them. I think Liverpool's this season is really nice. And there are also some kits that don't need much innovation. An Aston Villa kit, if you get it right, most of the time it's going to look fairly good. And I think even somewhat like a Leeds United, like I said before, Leeds have brought in on the away shirt the old badge, the yellow kind of circle badge. And I live in Leeds, I'm from Leeds, and you see so many yellow shirts just knocking about the town centre or knocking about your local town centre. And that's done so well. So I can imagine a lot of these clubs are going to use their old badge, as some of them have. Man City changed their badge, Liverpool has somewhat changed their badge, but I think a lot more teams will go back to it because the 50-60-year-olds, they're still buying the shirts and they like that nostalgia, they like the retroness. And I always think you don't have to do a 2-year cycle like Brentford. I think it would do teams some good. I think some teams who just have basic kits are running out of ideas, and yes, they probably will sell more if they do it yearly, but I think it would become more of a renowned shirt and maybe do well over the long run if it was done bi-yearly. But let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of the modern shirts nowadays. I do think they are getting better. I do think we were in a dark period just before COVID, maybe a bit in COVID. Let me know what you think of the video. If you could leave a like and if you subscribe to the channel, that'd be great. But thanks for watching.